We've got breaking news. The Bears have a new offensive lineman, Jonah Jackson, in the fold. Here we go. The CHGO Bears Podcast starts right now. The Bears are active, addressing a huge need as, new Bear in the fold as CHGO turns 3 years old. We appreciate the Bears giving us news on our third birthday here. Thank you so much, Mark Harmon, Greg Braggs, and from his palatial estate, we'll be bringing in our guy, Adam Hogue. Everyone's got the reactions are filing in here as Ryan Poles being aggressive, sending a 6th-round pick to the Los Angeles Rams for Jonah Jackson, formerly of the Detroit Lions. Signed with the Rams on a 3-year, $51 million deal, was banged up last year, played 4 games, and they got some salary cap issues in L.A., told him it's okay to seek a trade, and here he is landing in Chicago. Appreciate you joining today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Become a diehard on our third birthday. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, on a good discount, right, Adam?
Yeah, we have our best price ever on becoming a diehard. It is less than $3 a month. It's a lot cheaper than Jonah Jackson will cost the Chicago Bears. $34 for the whole year. You can think about it that way, or less than $3 a month. You get all of our diehard content, My Bears Things newsletter, Fran Duffy's entire draft database, which I spend half my day looking at every single day. Happy birthday to Chicago. Happy birthday to CHGO.
All right, Hogue, we're going to put you on the spot here. So take a second, take a deep breath. But when the Bears make trades, we need an Adam Hogue instant reaction.
I got to be honest with you. I need to go on a little rant here for a second. I can't wait. Let's go.
All right, Hoger, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the move. I think that this is not a top tier move, but it falls under the category of financial moves I think the Bears can make this year. So essentially, this looks like it's going to cost. This is essentially a $17.5 million contract for 2025 with 17 additional million not guaranteed for 2026. So from what I'm looking at, they can cut him after the season and it'll cost them nothing because the remaining cap hit that would be on there is what the Rams are already absorbing, the signing bonus, by trading him. So expensive on the surface, but really not a huge commitment beyond this season. So these are the types of moves where if you're not going after the top tier guys, the Bears have this flexibility this year to do things like this, and they could potentially restructure if they do need the additional cap space. So from a financial standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, Jonah Jackson, the other big connection here, the obvious connection, is that he played for Ben Johnson in Detroit. Now, he was there for 4 years. They decided not to re-sign him. He hit free agency. He actually signed with the Rams for more money than was expected last year. The market for Jonah Jackson was kind of higher than we all thought. And the results were not great, mainly due to injury. But this is a guy who can play both guard spots, can also play center. I think that's the next big question that we'll have to get answered here in the next couple of weeks as it all shakes out. I mean, do the Bears view him as a guard? Do they view him as a center? He's mostly played guard, but overall, I think this is a move that makes sense. On the surface, it looks pretty pricey, but it really shouldn't hurt the Bears long term when it comes to salary cap.
Yeah, to me, this is the Kevin Zeitler move, right? I don't think this eliminates any other move that you can get in free agency or in the draft in terms of continuing to build your offensive line. This is step one, But I do think that this is everybody said bring in Kevin Zeitler because he has familiarity with Detroit and Ben Johnson, 34 years old. So now instead of doing that, you trade for Jonah Jackson where you have a little more control over how much you're going to pay him because you're trading for him as opposed to signing him. And so to your point, Hogue and Carm, we were talking about before the show, he did have an injury last year. But Ryan Heckman, a guy that does great work, and he points out Jonah Jackson was a Pro Bowler in 2021 under Ben Johnson. He gave up zero sack. What's that?
Kind of. He was one of those replacement. He was like a Mitch Trubisky Pro Bowler.
Kind of Pro Bowler, but he gave up 0 sacks on 494 pass blocks in 2022. Gave up 2 sacks on 432 pass snaps in 2023. And then in 2024, he did miss time due to injury, but did not give up a sack on 181 pass block snaps. So you give up a 6th-round pick, which is essentially the 6th-round pick that you traded for Justin Fields, that you got back in the Justin Fields return. So, that's basically how you're flipping this in that regard. So it isn't this home run hire or home run signing or trade, but it is step one to rebuilding this offensive line with depth.
Well, and let's just be honest, Ryan Poles is following the Carm formula. When Trey Smith got tagged by the Chiefs, I'm like, look, that sucks, but what you can do is not invest as much money, keep financial flexibility going down the line, draft guys who hopefully will, if you don't want to bring Jonah Jackson back next year, hopefully you have a successful draft, somebody who can step in and get competent dudes who can help you this year protect for Caleb. The other thing that I like about this, from not just a financial flexibility he's 28 yet. There's a lot of injury stuff we can talk about, but he's also flexible. The picture on Twitter is of him playing center. He's a center and a guard. So if you go out, you try to get Drew Dalman, it doesn't work out or whatever, he gives you some flexibility, which I also like here. This is, to me, maybe they could have waited it out and maybe the Rams don't find a trade partner and you get him for nothing, but you can't really. I'm not going to fault Ryan Poles for giving up a 6th-round pick.
Started 40 games at left guard while playing under Ben Johnson. Courtney Cronin with the tweet as well. So that's huge.
I got all his positional stuff right here in front of me. So there's not a whole lot of starting as center experience. Played 24 snaps there in 2021. He really settled in at left guard in Detroit. Most of his snaps were at left guard in 2021. 2022, all of his snaps were at left guard. 2023, all of his snaps were at left guard. And then last year was kind of an interesting year when he goes to the Rams. He dealt with injuries. He played left guard in week 1, left guard in week 2, doesn't come back till week 10, plays center that game against the Dolphins, then doesn't come back again after that till week 18 and played right guard. So the majority of his snaps in the NFL have been at left guard. Majority of his snaps with Ben Johnson were at left guard, but he does have that versatility to sort of move around in a pinch. And I want to also share this tweet from Jordan Rodriguez, does a great job of covering the Rams for The Athletic. She wrote on Twitter, Chicago is taking on Jackson's salary. A source said, kudos owed to Jackson for how he handled the entire situation. Combination of injury and his backup emerging as a starter, stayed a great teammate the whole time, now reunites with Ben Johnson in Chicago.
And just there we go. I like when people reunite. Just to give you
and for clarity, Hogue, the injury last year was
so I got it. July 31st, 2024 last year. He left one of their camp sessions with an apparent arm injury. All right. Then the same day it's reported that he's going to miss 6 weeks with a bruised scapula. And then September 16th, he fractured that scapula. And, they put him on injured reserve, and then he was able to get on the field 2 more times last year. So that was last year's injuries. You want to go back in time, he's got a litany of stuff from knee injuries to ankle injuries to concussion stuff, to finger stuff. I mean, this is a guy who's been pretty banged up if you look at his injury history dating all the way back to 2021. Which,
yeah, and
go ahead.
Well, and I think the other thing to point out here is you're taking on decent amount of money for one season, maybe two if things really work out. I would imagine if things really work out, you would extend him at that point. But really, it's a 1-year deal, and you're only giving him a 6th-round pick because you're taking on that money. So, I mean, I think the Rams, the reaction I'm seeing from the Rams side of this is surprised that they were able to get, a team to take all the money, but you're also not giving up a whole lot here. My understanding is that this is the Justin Fields pick. This is the 6th rounder that the Bears got, the Justin Fields pick.
Well, to that point, if the Bears had waited it out and the Rams end up cutting him to save salary cap space, then they're saving all that dough, correct? If they had done that?
Wait, say that again?
Because there was a lot of people thought that this eventually, if they couldn't find a trade partner, the Rams were going to cut Jonah Jackson. All right?
Okay.
So if that happens and then the Bears want to make a play for him, is that in essence, Hogue, is that a free agent contract that you're signing if he gets cut, or are you paying him the minimum?
Yeah, that's what happened with Kevin Byard last year.
Right.
You cut him loose, then he's just a free agent to sign anywhere else. The Rams would have saved $9 million against their 2025 cap if they just released him. They would have had to do that as a June 1 designation, though, spread that money over the next 2 years. So yeah, that was on the table. So same type of deal, instead of doing that, they get a 6th-round pick back. They get something for him. And then now their only cap hit is, actually the cap hit, they're not saving a whole lot because this is a pre-June 1 trade. There's still going to be $11.3 million on their cap this year. They save 3.3.
Okay. Look,
because the signing bonus stays with the Rams in a trade.
Okay. I mean,
yeah.
Look, to get back to sort of brass tacks here, the Bears needed help on the O-line. This guy was available. Ben Johnson knows him. You had to give up very little in the 6th-round pick. You had to take on the money, of which you have a lot. So, earlier this week, Debo Samuel got traded, and I was talking about, hey, he's going to be traded for basically nothing, which was a 5th-round pick, and you have to pay him. Bears fans didn't want that because you needed help on the O-line. This is, Tony Gill, our head of content, we were talking about this. This is, in essence, like that type of deal. Like you are making a bet on a position of need for 1 year, and you have flexibility going forward. Assuming he stays healthy, he's going to play a lot of snaps for the Chicago Bears in 2025.
Well,
and I would assume it's at left guard, right? I mean, is this the end of Tevin? Can we read it that way?
I mean, I think the end of Tevin's already happened, but yes. Yeah, I think they're moving. I think they're moving on from Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, I agree with that. The writing seemed to be on the wall at the end of the year, as it was. But to me, I think the other aspect of this too is Ben Johnson has a lot to take on here this spring and this summer to turn this franchise around, to turn this offensive around. And so I'm not taking off the board the chance they still sign Drew Dahlman. I'm not taking off the board that they still try to trade for Trey Smith. I know that sounds crazy, but until the Chiefs actually ink the deal, to me, if you're going to get Caleb Williams where he needs to get, it's going to be hard to do that while also having a very young offensive line across the board. He's certainly, Ryan Poles called out Braxton Jones in a lot of ways last week, saying we'll see how he does coming out of the injury. So they have a lot of things they have to fix here. So trying to get veterans on this offensive line so Ben Johnson can install an offense with veterans that know what they're doing and know how to execute his offense from Detroit, that's a step in the right direction. You bring in a veteran center. I'm not against anything. Now, if you want to bring in a rookie guard, whether it's in the 1st round, Will Campbell, whether it's in the 2nd round with some of these different guys, Tyler Booker, whoever, now you have 4 veterans surrounding 1 rookie offensive lineman, which will make it a lot easier to still try to also not just develop the offense and the offensive line in the run game, but Caleb Williams as well. So I can kind of see where this is going, where he's going to be looking for some veterans.
Well, and what you like about that too, and I agree with you. Who knows how many? If the Chiefs want to trade Trey Smith to the Bears, I could absolutely see the Bears. I would expect the Bears to still be interested. But for me, Hogue, what I like about it too is that if you do all of that, it gives you a lot more draft flexibility. You can edge towards doing best player available, which to me would be super exciting if the Bears can get to a point where they feel like they can do that come the end of April.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they can to a certain degree, but to me, it's more like best lineman available on either side of the ball. It's kind of more how I look about that. I believe we have to take a break, correct?
We do. We absolutely do. And when we come back, we'll be taking a little peek at what's coming up potentially with Khalil Mack back in the news. But first, Adam Hogue.
There is a new product called Sam Adams American Light. It's really what this is light beer just getting better because it's clean, it's crisp, it's super easy to drink. It's Sam Adams American Light. There's no gimmicks, there's no fluff with this. Sam Adams American Light is not your average light beer. It's brewed with 100% American-sourced ingredients from local independent farmers. It is light beer that's made right because light beer shouldn't feel like a compromise. It should still taste really, really good. This is an American classic, so smooth. You'll want to crack open another one. It's always Sam season. So get it right now. Light beer just got better for you. Grab some Sam Adams American Light, available now at select Chicago retailers. It must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
And a shout out to our friends at Mando. Last night I went out after the Cats UCLA heartbreaker. And then I had to get up early this morning so I could meet Gregory P. Allen Braggs at Chicago's Union Station to celebrate our birthday. Didn't have time for the shower this morning, but I had time for my Mando. Thank you, Mando.
Thank you, Mando.
Yes, for keeping me smelling fresh. Mando is the whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere on your body. And believe you me, I used it everywhere this morning. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. And you can choose from a variety of scents. I had the bourbon leather this morning. You can also have the Cloverwoods, the Mount Fuji, the Pro Sport. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower. Yep, that your areas, they ain't there. You don't. It's registering 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 2 out of 10. With Mando, 0 out of 10. Straight delicious. That's where I'm at right now. And by the way, for you, the Mando fan, get yourself the Mando starter pack. Perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream 2 deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. You get the mini body wash if you like, deodorant wipes. They get all sorts of stuff. $5 off the starter pack with us right here at CHGO. That's 40% off. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com. SHOPMANDO.com. And you can support our show, by the way, and tell them we sent you. Mando, head to toe. All right. You want to give a grade on this trade before we move on to some of the Khalil Mack rumors out there? Anybody want to give grades here to Ryan Poles? Ho, you want to start?
I'll give it a B-. I think it's a solid addition. I think it makes sense from a financial draft capital standpoint. But I don't think it necessarily changes the fact that the Bears still need to continue to upgrade this offensive line.
Yeah, that goes without saying. I agree with you. In the B range, I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too, guys. Bears fans that don't like the move, like, to me, you wanted offensive linemen. We need offensive lineman depth. Nobody's trying to tell you this is some star-studded move, but they don't make this trade without Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is the one that recommended Jonah Jackson comes to the Bears. If you're excited about Ben Johnson, then you should be excited that this move will work out because that's what Ben Johnson believes. So to me, that's it. It's not this. It's okay. We're saved. Let's throw a party here. But at the same time, their first big move, first big acquisition is offensive lineman. And we haven't even gotten to free agency, which is still 6 days away. So this is a step in the right direction to adding to that depth. Hell, bring back, if you want to keep Kevin Zeitler on the board, keep him on the board. Put him at right guard. Sign Drew Dahlman. Now all of a sudden you can draft 2 offensive linemen in the first and second round and talk about an overhaul of your offensive line room. Let Dan Rorschach get his hands on that group. Let Ben Johnson try to implement that run game from those kind of names. Like this is a step in the right direction. There's nothing more that needs to be said about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of the negative grades in the chat. Look, to me, this is just a very basic. You needed an offensive lineman. You didn't have to give up a whole lot. Yes, he's a little bit expensive, but you have the money to do it. I don't know where the Bears
look at Matt Pryor last year. He's a third-string right guard, but he had some versatility. He's a big-ass dude, and, he made it work. He was better than the first-string right guard, Nate Davis, that they paid a crap ton of money to. I mean, I get it's a tongue-in-cheek point. I'm just saying, let's get some guys in here that can move some people, especially some guys that have familiarity with Ben Johnson. I'm all for it. There's nothing wrong with this move.
I mean, a year ago at this time,
got to do better than Matt Pryor, though. That's why they're making this trade. You gotta upgrade. By the way, this is our What's Brewing segment presented by Sam Adams American Light, which is available now at select Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly. It is clean, crisp, super easy to drink. What's Brewing? Sam Adams American Light. And as you're seeing right now, the trades, the signings, the rumors, everything's brewing here with the Chicago Bears and this big move. Today, the Bears getting Jonah Jackson from the Rams in exchange for a 6th-round pick. And guys, before we get to some of the other rumors and some other things that might be brewing here for the Bears, I have Dane Brugler's scouting report on Jonah Jackson I'd like to share with you if you're interested.
Let's hear
from
it.
The 2020 Beast.
You know what I call that?
Jonah Jackson, Ohio State, 6'3" and a half, 306 pounds. He started his first 4 years at Rutgers. People forget that before transferring to Ohio State. I can give you the whole Karmapedia if you'd like. Jonah Jackson grew up just outside of Philadelphia. Started seeing varsity reps on the offensive line at Pencrest as a sophomore. Yada, yada, yada. Eventually became a 3-star offensive tackle. Didn't get a ton of big-time offers. That's why he ended up at Rutgers. Other offers were from Albany, Massachusetts, Monmouth. So he goes to Rutgers, plays there for 4 years, then does a grad transfer, which we don't even talk about anymore because of NIL and all that. But back then, you had to be a graduate student to transfer without penalty. Ends up at Ohio State, where he became a first-team All-Big Ten selection and a third-team All-American playing left guard. Guys, his strengths, broad-shouldered frame with an NFL-ready body. You rarely see him get bullied, absorbing blows and securing his anchor. Plays with pop in his hands to control or pass off rushers. Gets defenders moving in the run game with power in his upper half. Adequate initial quickness out of his stance to perform reach blocks and help create run lanes. He flashes an intense demeanor from snap to whistle, already owns a professional demeanor, and his teammates, both at Ohio State and Rutgers, rave about his leadership and energy. Versatile experience with college starts at all 3 interior positions on the offensive line. As for weaknesses, which is why he fell to the 4th round, guys, Dane had this nailed as a 4th round selection. Average athletic traits. Feet get heavier the longer the play progressive. Laboring to cut off outside angles. Must improve his balance and space to better sustain second-level blocks. Upright pass sets and lack of lower body bend is a concern. Grabby hands. Relies more on his hand strength and swinging his hips to achieve blocking angles. Must tighten his discipline and technique. Responsible for 5 penalties in 2019, although they were all in the first half of the season. Missed half of the sophomore season due to an injury, requiring surgery. Ultimately, Dane said, Jackson lacks ideal range, isn't nearly as effective outside his square, but his natural size, strength, and tenacity are NFL quality traits, projecting as a future NFL starter in a power scheme, which is partly why I wanted to bring, all that information to you, because I do think that we're talking about a little bit of a transition from the heavy zone that the Bears have been running the last few years. Ben Johnson probably bringing a little bit more power, which I love to see, a little bit more counter. So Jonah Jackson might not be the most athletic move type guard, but he's going to bring a little bit more tenacity and aggressiveness, which I think everybody wants to see on that offensive line.
What a shame that it couldn't work out for Tevin Jenkins. I mean, you even saw at one point where you moved him over to right guard, and him and Darnell Wright were just road grading people at one point, but he just can't stay on the field, game to game, even quarter to quarter, because honestly, it is in a vacuum, he would fit the mold of a power run game with
100%.
Ben Johnson. So it's just, honestly, it's a shame. They'd be so much closer if Tevin was still somebody that was on the table for them, but doesn't seem likely anymore.
Got a little breaking news here, too. The New York Jets are releasing, or have released, I should say, Davante Adams.
Davante will be following Aaron Rodgers to wherever he goes,
Well,
whether that's in a dark room somewhere or to the New York Giants.
It was already reported, I wasn't sure if it was facetious or not, that Aaron has already told the Giants that he wants Davante to come along with him over there.
Yeah, that's a package deal.
But a lot of money that was tied up there, and the Jets saying, no, we're not going to pay it. It was 2 years at $70 million. They're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
So Davante is out there as well on a very newsy day. The other news of the day was that the Cowboys sound Osa Odigizua to a 4-year, $80 million deal, 52 of that guaranteed. So that was supposedly another Bears target, somebody who could get to the quarterback.
Well, and I think maybe, and Adam, I don't know how you see this, but might give you an idea of what potentially Milton Williams will cost from the Eagles.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot.
Oh, that was one of the reactions when that contract came. Look, I thought Osa made a lot of sense for the Bears. Much like Trey Smith, it became apparent kind of at the combine that they're not going to make it easy. They're not going to let good players hit free agency. And so you're going to have to get creative in trying to sign these guys. But yeah, I think Milton Williams will benefit from this deal financially for sure.
All right, so let's bring the Khalil Mack conversation in here, as that has been rumored this week. Supposedly Mack might be interested in some level of reunion with the Bears where he's not the featured guy. He's not, at least speculation is he's not going to be cheap. 34 years old, 6 sacks last year, down from 17 the year prior. But everybody can close their eyes and remember 52 killing quarterbacks when he was here. Hogue, do you think this is a real is this real? I'll say it like that the Bears would be super interested in bringing Khalil Mack back at 34.
I don't know. I don't know. I had him in my notebook the other day as more of an opinion piece. In that, and I put in there. I have not heard a single thing about Khalil Mack being connected to the Bears. I know Chris Emma reported yesterday that he would have some interest in returning to Chicago. I guess my intel on that is I've never once been told that Khalil Mack didn't like Chicago. I don't think he necessarily wanted to leave when they traded him, but I think LA was one of the places he wanted to go, and so they made that work. So I don't get any sense that he'd be opposed to coming back to Chicago, but I also haven't heard anything that the Bears are extremely interested in bringing him back to Chicago. Now, getting back to what I wrote yesterday in my newsletter, personally, I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, it was in the mold of kind of what we're seeing with Jonah Jackson today, right? When I bring up Khalil Mack, I'm talking at max 2-year deal. That's really a 1-year deal with really nothing guaranteed in year 2. That's what we're talking about here with Jonah Jackson. There's only so many of those deals you can give out before the cap space disappears, right? So you want to pay Khalil Mack $22 million now for 2025, just throwing out a number. Now you add that to 17.5. You just committed to Jonah Jackson. I mean, it starts to add up really quickly. So there's only so many of those deals you can give out. I do think he's a guy that you can get without mortgaging your future at this point, like the Bears had to do the last time they acquired him. And I also think he'd make a lot of sense opposite of Montez Sweat, because I don't think Montez Sweat's a finished product. I still think he's got some things that he can do to get better, to be more consistent overall. And I think Khalil Mack can help him a lot in that regard. But my initial reaction, considering we started this show with an emergency aspect to it with a trade, seems less likely than it did maybe an hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think Khalil Mack pulls on the heartstrings of every Bears fan. We love Khalil Mack. So if he comes here, you're not going to hear too much complaining from Bears fans. That being said, I mean,
depends what they pay him. You
right.
might hear some if they pay a bunch of money.
Of course. I mean, there's always going to be, both ends of the spectrum when it comes to opinion on moves Ryan Poles is making, and rightfully so. They deserve to be questioned. I mean, you saw when the Bears traded for Keenan Allen last year, were you all very excited for that? A veteran with a Hall of Fame resume, didn't necessarily work out. But Khalil Mack obviously hits a little closer to home with what he's done here. So I think my initial instinct is like, hell yeah, let's bring back Khalil Mack. But then when you start to really dig into it, and my guy Nick Whalen, who does a really good job covering the Bears on his own right on Bears Twitter, he points this out when he talks about if you had to compare him to Chase Young, who's somebody that is available. He says age, Khalil Mack 34, Chase Young 25. 2024 defensive rank among pressures, Mack 26th in the league, Chase Young 7th. 2024 sacks, Mack 6, Chase Young 5.5. And then defensive end rank among QB hits, Khalil Mack 33rd, Chase Young 13th. So I think that really kind of encapsulated where, okay, and my initial instinct's like, hell yeah, let's get Khalil Mack. But then when you start to see somebody lay it out like that, it's like, all right, maybe they need to be smarter here and not try to drum up the old meatball like me and the rest of the gang on Meatball Island.
Yeah, if you were one player away, to me it would make sense. Or close to one player away. But
yeah, I disagree. One player away is trading for Myles Garrett. I think that's a different level of conversation. I'll say this about Chase Young as a possible name. I like him if the Bears sign him. And what I mean by that is he was with Dennis Allen last year. Same thing with this Jonah Jackson trade. I'm going to give it a little extra bump in trust because Ben Johnson is seeking out a guy he spent a lot of time with. Okay. So this isn't, oh no, you just signed, Nate Davis, almost forgot his name, which is probably okay. Nate Davis. And all of a sudden you realize real quickly, made a mistake, didn't have enough homework here. Like, who this guy is. So same thing with questions about Chase Young. You'd be reuniting him with Montez Sweat. And we know from talking to him that they have a good relationship. And then Dennis Allen knows him. So that's a situation where if the Bears were to sign him, I'd be like, all right, you roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Chase Young, I think it was last week or maybe the week prior, that, listen, familiarity with Montez, familiarity with Dennis, a lot of talent there. Yes, I get it. Has been injured, and some people question his work ethic at times, but dude, that's a super talented guy and 10 years younger, in essence, than Khalil.
Sure, but going back to if they do sign Khalil Mack, all right, that's fine. You get Jonah Jackson, you get Khalil Mack, and you're drafting their replacements in the first and second rounds, right? That's the blueprint. You bring in veterans that are going to help this team, get off to a fast start, whether we like it or not as fans or whether the coaching staff likes it or not as a first-year coaching staff. This team is ready to win. They were almost at 5-2 to start last year. They have players on this roster that want to win now, that are tired of hearing about next year. And so you're not going to go into that locker room and sell to DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and all the different veterans, DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, and say, Jalen Johnson, hey, one more year, guys, because now it's a new coaching staff. So that's a lot of pressure on Ben Johnson because you have to be fair to letting them kind of implement their foundation. But at the same time, you bring in guys, you have a roster that's ready to play some football, and the expectation, whether it be fans or probably in House Hall, is that it's time to start winning some games. So you bring in vets to try to get that done.
Yeah, look, you have a great offseason. And you bring in Ben Johnson and Caleb in his second year. Yes, to all of that. Like, it's certainly on the table that you could look at it like the Bears should be at bare minimum a back of the conference playoff team next season.
Eater in the chat said the Bears just went from a 6-11 projection to a 6-11 projection. With this, we get it.
Right.
Hey, there's more work to be done.
Right. I get it. You don't stamp yourself as a playoff team by trading a 6th-round pick for Jonah Jackson. However, and maybe you're overpaying for him too, but you have a ton of needs. This is well documented, and I like the flexibility it gives you, despite the fact that you did pay a decent amount of money for it. What about the high end of the edge rushers? Like you look at Josh Sweat, you look at his. If you want to try to do connections, you can bring him back. Oh, well, Ian Cunningham knew him in Philadelphia. Other people look at Josh Sweat and they're like, that dude was very successful on a really, really talented defensive line. You take him out of there, like the production might not be anywhere close to the same. I don't know. Like when we're playing around with Mack, you look at all the options that they could be, what directions they could go. That's the top of the market.
Yeah, I'm a little. This is a tough one for me because I like Josh Sweat. I hate the idea of having two guys named Sweat on the same D line. So I mean, if they want to rule him out just for that, I'd be okay with that. No, boy, he looked good in the Super Bowl, didn't he? and that's gonna probably inflate his price a little bit. PFF has him projected as $18 million a year over 3 years, with probably 2 of those years, maybe a little bit less than that, guaranteed. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I can jive with the idea that he's probably not going to be the same player on the Bears that he was with the Eagles. But I'll tell you this, they said that about Montez Sweat too when he came over from that Washington line, and at least that first year was really, really good, then took a step back. So I have heard Sweat connected to the Bears, and I think it's a name to watch, but I'm a little hesitant that's going to pay off, and I think it's going to come with a little bit more risk in terms of the future financial flexibility.
Yeah, and that's why moves like today are, look, if it doesn't work out, it ain't the end of the world. It's just a lot of money for 1 year. So,
but also again points to the idea you're not paying a guy $17 million to come in a rebuild year. Like this is with the intention, like they want to get off to a faster start than most first-year coaching staffs typically do.
Look, the Bears are tweeting out videos about being 1-0 in 2025. And they are. They're literally, there's the whole excitement about this season. So they're all in on winning in 2025. All right.
It's like trying to compete, but also being patient. It's like we don't know how to thread that needle here in Chicago. Well, I certainly don't.
Well, they wanted to go long-term. I think you can accurately connect the dots. They wanted to pay Trey Smith. It didn't work out. Maybe they'll be able to trade for him. So this is a plan B move. I think it's reasonable. All right. Let's take a quick time out here as we figure out what we're going to do on the back end of this show here. But first, Gregory.
Yeah, what do you got in them binoculars?
I can see in the distance. I think that's Tevin Jenkins really upset that he was hearing about his injury proneness and the fact that the Bears just went out and paid $17 million for somebody who played 4 games last year.
Jaquan Brisker said, him and Tez, don't do that. It'll get ugly.
What does that mean? I'm trying to understand.
He's saying, like, keep Tez, and with this guy, you got Maulers.
Okay,
so that's what he said.
Maybe they will.
That's why he must have had his right on binoculars.
He probably did. Maybe he sees Tevin and Pole's meeting right now. Hey, no matter what activities you prefer, it's always important to have the best view. Right On Optics offers a full range of optic products so you can see clearly. Everyone can use a good pair of binoculars. Come on now. Right On Optics have been around for over a decade. They have a full quality controlled inspection. And most importantly, for your comfort, the Right On Promise unlimited lifetime warranty covers defects, accidental damages, drops. You take these to Bears training camp to watch Jonah Jackson maul Montez Sweat. You drop them on Braggs' head and they break, they'll get you a new pair. Great, better looks at literally everything. Check out the full line of Right On products today at rightonoptics.com/CHGO. That is RITON optics.com/CHGO.
All right, and PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. The app is really easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join over 10 million users and sign up today on PrizePicks. You can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players with players from baseball, hockey, esports, and much more. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. The second half of the basketball season is here, and the race to the playoffs is heating up on PrizePicks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Don't miss your chance to cash in as the league's best fight for playoff positioning. Download the app today. Use code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use code CHGO to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. PrizePicks, run your game.
That's right. It is time for our PrizePicks Run Your Game Pick'em segment. And Hogue, we're going to let you pick them, buddy. Here are your options. You can, via PrizePicks, give your deep thoughts on Sam Darnold testing free agency with the Minnesota Vikings, or your deeper thoughts, perhaps, on Debo Samuel ending up with the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick, and the Commanders all of a sudden just making a play to have somebody pair with Terry McLaurin after going to the playoffs, after drafting a quarterback that was unbelievable, after hiring Dan Quinn.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Is this just another home run for the Commanders? Who Bears fans, by the way, when I brought up Debo,
are you trying to sell him?
Nobody was interested.
This is his pick'em.
It's okay. You're right. Hogue, this is your pick'em, buddy. What do you got?
No, it's not. It's Carm's doubling down on his asinine take from 2 weeks ago segment, sponsored by PrizePicks.
Doubling down.
All right, then that sounds like you've picked the Debo Samuel conversation.
You have picked the Debo.
Help me out here because
you picked Debo.
I just don't understand. Like, it does not even take a football genius to understand that Debo Samuel is a very unique player that only fits certain schemes. And in this case, the Bears already have a redundant player on their roster in DJ Moore who's not going anywhere. Guess who didn't have that player? Guess who does have the scheme that can use Debo Samuel? The Washington Commanders. Guess whose GM came from the San Francisco 49ers, where he had Debo Samuel. Opening, scheme fit, connection, no-brainer. You know what team has none of that? The Chicago Bears. So stop talking about it. It's so dumb.
He's been yelling at me about this all morning. And
I was not yelling at you.
Now you're afraid to push back on Hogue.
No, I will gladly push back on Hogue and the so dumb thing. I don't know. If you have one really good player, I wouldn't mind having another really good player, even if it's redundant. I don't think that's a terrible thing. I like good players. You know, sometimes players get hurt. Sometimes having two guys that can do things.
So you don't think that Keenan Allen's presence hurt Rome Odunze as a rookie at all?
Do I think that Keenan Allen's presence? No, I would agree with that. But Keenan,
he won't let me say Rome Odunze is a good player. He wouldn't allow me to say that.
Why are you bringing in Debo in to take away more touches?
Right.
You're contradicting yourself right now.
I am putting Rome on the outside.
He's already done with Rome.
I am putting Rome. No, so slow down. See, the argument with me and Braggs about Rome is like the Bears don't need another wide receiver. They've got Rome and DJ. I'm like, hold on. Let's not crown Rome yet. The Bears absolutely do need another wide receiver.
And I didn't say they don't need another wide receiver. I just said they don't have to draft or get Debo. You can draft a wide receiver.
Listen, the whole point of this, and maybe Hogue's right, that he's just an absolutely perfect fit for Washington and wouldn't fit in Chicago at all. It would be completely redundant and unnecessary to bring in what was one of the best receivers and versatile dudes in the game. Maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Bears. But, you know, somewhere out there, an organization that's doing a lot of things right just decided that, you know what, it's worth the risk on Debo. To people in the chat, Cornell Bryant, Debo's washed. Well, a pretty good organization who's doing a lot of things right. They went out and did it.
I heard he's fat now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's fat and he sucks. But the Commanders, who got the coach right, the OC right, the QB right, all these things, now they're going after Debo. Maybe they just don't know what they're doing over there. Or maybe it is, to Hogue's point, just the perfect fit. That's all I'm saying. And I know that this, if we could just get rid of me and Braggs and just zoom in on Hogue's annoyed face, I think that could be good for the podcast, because it probably reflects what at least 50% of the chat is thinking right now. Right there. That's what they're thinking. Right there.
You should have seen my face
Hello,
in the
darkness,
meeting.
my old friend.
Yes. Well, I don't want to hear it, Hogue, because I had to.
Shows with Mark Carman.
Yeah.
Hogue's song. If at bare minimum we brought out Hogue's song.
Yeah, which Bragg stepped on all over. I'm trying to do a thing, and Greg's just talking over the whole thing.
Don't get your harmonica, because I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the
30
crying.
seconds of this show are this show.
I don't want to hear the crying, because you know what? I had to deal with it in the meeting room all morning. And so this is you might get 5 minutes of it. He's screaming at me all morning about it.
There was no screaming.
He started swearing at me.
No. Was there any Steven, you were there.
There was no screaming.
There was no screaming. I calmly looked into the eyes of Greg Braggs, who was telling me that Roquan Smith sucked.
That's not what I said. See what you do? That's not what I said.
Tony was there. I heard for a half an hour how Roquan was not a good player. And I'm like, I don't know. I like good players.
Not doing this.
Okay. More importantly, let's actually, in our PrizePicks pick, I'm here. Let's move over to the Sam Darnold thing, Hogue, and just give me your best guess on it. A, are you surprised that this is how it's fallen out here? They're not going to tag him. And where do you think this ends up in Minnesota?
Well, the only thing I'm surprised about, other than that you didn't let me go 9 minutes ago when I needed to leave, was the attachment to this story that he might still end up back with the Vikings. So they're going to let him hit free agency. And I mean, I think Schefter even tweeted something like, while we've been on the air here, about how there's still a chance he goes back to Minnesota. So I don't know, guys. They played the same thing with Kirk Cousins last year. Remember, he hit the open market. There was a back and forth. They're like, where's he going to end up? And then ultimately, that was the big first domino of free agency, where he had to, where he goes to Atlanta. And it was certainly seemed at the time like, oh, what are the Vikings going to do now? And then they end up drafting J.J. McCarthy. Well, again, as I've said many times, J.J.'s already there this time. So you're telling me the same situation is going to play out, and this time they're going to bring the quarterback back? I don't know. I find it hard to believe. I think they should just let him go. I think someone's going to pay Darnold too much money, and I expect that to be how this goes. But it is interesting to me that they keep sort of leaving the door open to the idea that he'll come back.
Fair enough. Hey, Adam O, you got to go, so get on out of here, buddy. Right now.
Yes. We just By the way, the reason why I'm home is because my wife is sick, and I need to watch my little girl, which I have not done now for about 51 minutes. So I don't know. Who knows where she is by now? But I'll blame Carm.
Let her draw all over the walls. Just go to town.
Livy's more mature than certainly me, and definitely the guy to my left. She's doing great, but go be a dad. Best to Krista. Get healthy, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow. You cutie pie, you.
Happy birthday to everybody.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Become a diehard, less than $3 a month. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, let's bring that back up, Steven. Special deal here today. Obviously, the birthday of this great city of Chicago, but also the birthday of CHGO Sports. 3 years here at CHGO Sports. And if you go to allchgo.com/diehard, you can become a diehard right now. Sports over everything. $34, the Walter Payton deal, annual pass for the year. And you'll continue to roll over. You get a free shirt as soon as you sign up. You get access to the written content that is exclusive to diehards only. Fran Duffy, who will be joining us tomorrow, our All-City draft analyst expert, who's put a ton of new information into his database after being at the NFL Combine all of last week. Does some great work We'll get you up to speed with everybody you need to know and, get you ready for the draft. And then, of course, discounts on all upcoming events. We'll have a draft party to announce here at some point very soon. I know that we've been putting into work on that. And then when we get to the regular season, we have tailgates for every home game. And then all the other sports, you get access to the written content, events, and everything else with Bulls, Cubs, Blackhawks, Bears, White Sox, the entire deal. So we love all you, and we appreciate your support to the program.
Yeah, and we were out this morning on Madison outside of Union Station saying hello, and Braggs was – I've never seen anybody less successful try to give away donuts.
That's not true. We gave away a solid amount of donuts. You 2 boxes worth.
Admit you were mediocre. You were not.
You can't force food on people.
You did on me. You stuffed the donut in my face.
If that Instagram Live is still available, somebody said, feed Carm. So I was like, Carm, eat this. And at first he said no. Then he opened his big fat mouth. And I took that donut and just jammed it right in his mouth. It was a great moment.
Yeah, it was assault, and I called my HR lawyers, and we're working on it. But, no, it was a ton of fun out there today. People that I wrote down that I said hi to, Jack and Cameron and Lily and Dwayne and Dave, who was singing the Ferris Bueller song. Norman, who came up to us towards the end, who was a diehard.
Yeah, that was really cool.
We took some pictures with Norman. Norman, you are the man. Jason in Northbrook, also a CHGO fan at the end there. So it was cool to meet some new people. And I do apologize. I don't apologize. I was very aggressive, though, giving people fist bumps and high fives going into their day and trying just to get them fired up for their work day. I think it actually might be my calling in life, just to hang out outside of train stations in the morning.
I think we are onto something that we should start doing this a lot more, just picking different places in the city to just motivate people as they go to work.
I mean, I think it's a calling.
It's starting
to
warm up too.
Yeah.
So this is a good time of year. I mean, it wouldn't be as fun to do it in the winter.
Yeah. No. True, but anything.
I thought it was going to be pouring when we went out there. Brought my umbrella and everything, and then it was beautiful out.
Anything to give back right now is something that I'm willing to do. But here, let's go back to Jonah for a little bit here before we get on out.
No, look at this. And PFF here.
Yeah.
266 offensive snaps played. Look at this 0 next to the penalties. 0 penalties. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, man.
Yeah. Here, Ben.
0 sacks allowed, but the penalties. Oh, boy.
Let's go, Jonah Jackson. Get yourself healthy.
Mercedes Lewis played like 14 snaps and had 5 penalties.
It's a rough year for big
All
dog.
due respect to the big dog, but it's just like it didn't matter who it was. Everybody's getting a penalty.
Yeah.
Please execute.
Jonah Jackson from Ben Solek, who's probably a little smarter than me or you when it comes to breaking down NFL trades. He wrote this a couple of days ago. If Jackson is the player he was with the Lions, he can offer high-impact run blocking in a gap running scheme and also provide a fine level of pass protection. And he puts in parentheses, though it isn't necessarily his strength. But that's only if he's fully healthy, which is challenging to predict given his injury-riddled 2024 and history of injuries before then. It's more likely Jackson offers quality play for some percentage of the 2025 season at less than 100%. So I hate to do this, Bears fans, but I'm going to go through it for you. The injury history of Jonah Jackson, which starts all the way back on January 3 of 2021 when he was checked for a concussion. December 19, 2021, this is rookie year, sidelined with a back injury, inactive for the game against Arizona. Fast forward to his second year, September 18th, inactive against Washington. Finger injury. Same 2022, November 2024. Had a concussion, did not play Week 12 versus the Bills. Next year, October 13, 2023, won't play, ruled out with an ankle injury. October 28th, going to sit and miss his third straight game, also with that ankle injury. Didn't play that same year in November of 2023, if you're following along, with a wrist injury. Missed another game with that wrist injury. So just missing games in 23. And then 2024, he left the playoff game, was questionable return against the Buccaneers with a knee injury. Then he was ruled out. And then he was out the following week, didn't play in the playoffs, out for Sunday, ruled out against the Niners with that knee injury. Then offseason comes, signs a 3-year, $51 million deal. He was limited in OTAs with the knee injury, and then get to training camp, leaves with an apparent arm injury. Then it's diagnosed as a bruised scapula at that time. Then he gets back on the field, probably rushed himself out there, and he ends up fracturing his scapula, and in essence was basically
Are you saying
out
that
for the
word
season.
right?
Scapula?
Scapula.
Scapula?
Yeah,
Scapula.
he was saying
Scapula. Any rate, the point is that he's got a length. Whatever. My bad. Scapula. I feel like I'm Chevy Chase and Fletch, if anybody knows that reference. Have you seen Fletch?
I have not seen Fletch.
You probably have not seen Fletch. Good movie.
The other day you had a big reference. Then this morning you had a Back to the Future reference, and I'm just wondering: does Mark still think it's like 19?
Yeah, no, I got it. You're right. I absolutely have to upgrade the pop culture. But so you hear all that, Gregory, and I know I don't want to be. I still maintain my general take on this is that it's a position of need. You're giving up a 6th-round pick. He's a little bit expensive, but at this point, I like having some insurance as they try to completely figure out what they're doing on their offensive line. But you also look at that, and it does have to scare you that this dude can't stay on the field.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a brutal sport, so there's going to be injuries. But you can't dismiss it. You have to acknowledge it. But obviously, I'd like to think if they're going to make a trade like this, that they're going to do the background on how he's feeling, what he's up to. And again, as I said to start this show, or at least earlier in the program, like if Ben Johnson signs off on it, we are now in the trust in Ben mode. You may not trust Ryan Poles, rightfully so, but we are now in the trust in Ben era. So for me, if Ben Johnson wanted him here, then I'm fine with Ben Johnson bringing him here. So welcome to the Bears. I mean, seriously, What else is there to say? Ben Johnson wants him. Ben Johnson gets him. Greg's going to root for him.
Well, I think this also tips Ben Johnson's hand a little bit, too, because Jonah Jackson, he's known as more of a run-blocking left guard than he is a pass blocker. So, I mean, to me, this kind of sells a little bit that they are going to be looking at another running back, whether that be through free agency or the draft. Because, I mean, Ben Johnson, his offense, if you look at his offense the last few years, yeah, okay, Jared Goff had some great passing seasons, but if you actually looked at the game by game, they started that off by establishing the run, which set up the pass. So, I mean, for me, this tells me that there's going to be a running back ad somewhere coming here.
Yeah, this ad or not this ad, I absolutely think the Bears are going to be adding a running back into that room, and I that's well underlined, Stephen, that perhaps that just further makes the point that, yes, the Bears are going to try to be a much more physical team in 2025, keep the ball on the ground, which hopefully will, help the offense, help Caleb, maybe help the offensive line recreate it, find its footing a little earlier in the season, get going, all the things. I can't help it because there's a ton of people in the comments saying, should have just kept Tevin. One, and now I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth because I asked earlier in the show if we thought that Tevin was out here, and Hogue said yes, and I think it too. But who knows how this all spins? Let's say they can't make a deal for Trey. He ends up back in Kansas City, as I would expect, and there's not a huge market for Tevin. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. And somehow it becomes a reasonable deal to bring Tevin back. Tevin as a right guard, where he was fantastic, paired up next to Darnell Wright. If that's how this spins, unlikely, but if that happens, I'd be on board with giving Tevin a shot to stay in there. This is you could say this literally about any player. If the price is right, I would take him there. But it applies to Tevin. If the price is right, I would take. You're saying at no price?
No, because that's the difference. Like where you have this guy here coming in on a 1-year deal, there's risk there, but at the same time, there isn't long-term risk. and the money is only for 1 year. You're bringing in Tevin Jenkins. Is it going to be a 1 year deal? I guess
In essence, it's a 1 year deal.
If you're selling me that, then if there's no other options for them to bolster the depth on their offensive line, like I said, I think if in a vacuum, I think Tevin Jenkins is exactly the kind of guy Ben Johnson would want on his offensive line. But I just think when we start to go down that road, and we have this with Jaquan Brisker and Tevin Jenkins last year and the last few years, with all due respect to both players who are so talented, and if they could just stay on the field, then you could put that marker in and say, those guys are our guys, and they're going to lead our team. The problem is they can't only not play game to game. How many games can you guarantee they're going to play throughout a year? The games they do start, they can't finish the game,
right,
which really puts you behind the 8 ball when you're trying to prepare week to week.
Yeah, and look, I fully expect Tevin to be elsewhere. I think somebody will pay him, and I hope they do. And Tevin was a great guy here, first class dude in that locker room. I know no one seems to care about that. I do.
No,
I like good people. Tevin was. I rooted for him. I will continue to root for him. Obviously when he's playing the Bears, but I think somebody will give Tevin, a chance to prove that he can stay healthy.
And he's projected for a $3 or $40 million contract.
Right.
I mean, when you start looking at it like that, I mean, do you think it would be worth it for the Bears to sign him to that deal?
No.
There's just too much injury risk there.
No, I wouldn't.
And you could get out of this Jonah Jackson contract after this season, right, and it's a dead cap hit of $5.67 million.
If I can get Tevin for 2 years and 25, and I can get out of it after 1 year, okay, something of that ilk. I mean, I'd love to do it for 2 years and 15, but like a reasonable number, I would.
I was only interested in a heavy hometown discount.
Yeah.
A little annoyed because I was trying to find a quote. I brought it up like a month ago, and I can't seem to find it here.
And that never happens to me. I'm always so super organized.
I know. I normally can pull it right up.
Thank you for laughing at that, Stephen.
Go right to it, but I can't seem to find it. But it essentially was from, I believe, a Courtney Cronin article from while we were still in the coaching search. But it essentially alluded to the idea of Ben Johnson was quoted talking about why the Detroit Lions offense was able to run on the cylinders that it was able to and score 70 touchdowns. And he just talked about having smart players, guys that knew what they were doing, veteran players having the advantage of executing an offense that was like the nitrous oxide to what they're doing. And so that to me that's what speaks to this move. He needs veteran players on that offensive line, so then he can put the nitrous oxide to the talent, the young skill guys that still have developing to go. Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams. You bring in a running back potentially in the draft, and now you've got veterans blocking for them, executing, calling out what they need to see at the line of scrimmage, and now those guys can just read and react and play free instead of all the thinking that so many young players had to do last year, which obviously resulted in, an abysmal failure. So I think I see this as where this is already going. I expect them to sign a center here in free agency, and I'm not leaving Trey Smith off the board. I'm back in. Last week, I was like crumbling while we were at the combine, but now I still can feel a Trey Smith still being on the board, and that excites me. I'm just glad.
A little tingle?
Little tingle. Little Trey Smith tingle, right?
Trey tingle.
Let's just say it however many different ways to just weird out
TT.
Yeah, TT. Yes. So I mean, why not? Let's just start bringing in some veteran offensive linemen and get this thing to work. And you can still draft an offensive lineman first round, 2 second-round picks, and let them develop.
Let me ask you that now. Now that we have a left guard that we just got through a trade here, how important is it for you to get an offensive lineman with that number 10 pick? Or is it not important at all?
It's still very important. I mean, the picture is not clear yet.
Does it change your priority a little bit?
Not at all.
It's still offensive lineman pick 10.
It's still take your pick. I have to see the rest of free agency. If they bring in, a right guard, that as somebody, a veteran type, Gray Zabel, come on down from North Dakota State. If they bring in a center and a right guard veteran, let's say they get Drew Dahlman and Kevin Zeitler, And now their offensive line is set for 2025. Will Campbell at 10, if you make it there, come on down. You're going to be our left tackle of the future, right? You don't stop. Adam Rank said this a few weeks ago. Like, once you have one spot filled, doesn't mean that you can't add depth behind it, whether it's on the offensive line or defensive line. And I agree with that. Leave no stone unturned. Go for it. Keep adding depth. Keep, turning this roster over to a point where you have, where nothing is to be denied.
Get all the offensive linemen, every single damn one of them. Let's go.
Do everything you possibly can to make sure it doesn't go wrong.
Right. And by the way, add on some guys who can get to the quarterback, and we could use another wide receiver and, yes, a running back as well. And I'd actually take a little peek at safety, too, because you're going to need some depth there.
But that's my point, and this is why the Bears have needed an offensive line and defensive line the last 3 years, so I'm not going to act like this is some amazing tactician chess move by Ryan Poles to line up this year's offseason where they desperately need offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and it's a great offseason to need it in free agency and the draft. But the reality is those are the two Bears' biggest needs, arguably their only needs. I'm not saying they can't retool other things, and you can attack free agency, bring in your vets, and like you said, have an opportunity to have some freedom in the draft with number one, a top 10 pick and 2 second-round picks.
So as we get to the top of the hour here, just a reminder, happy birthday to everyone from all of us at CHGO. Year 3 started 3 years ago, and we're doing a special Become a Diehard for you today. The Walter Payton $34 annual pass. It's the lowest we've ever offered it. Hogue did a great job of doing the math on that. That's less than $3 a month. What's 12 times 3, Gregory?
36.
There it is, buddy. $2 less.
I wasn't even listening.
Yeah, I know you weren't, but you just popped in there. Your ADD, ADHD, or whatever you have over there kicked in beautifully. The ADHD, right? So, hey, $34. You get a T-shirt right in the door. Our draft guide's great. Our merch is great. Discounts and all that. Our events are fantastic. Love seeing people out there, and more important than all of that, to all the people who have become diehards beforehand, and to everyone who we see in the chat every single day, I can't say how much I've enjoyed my experience getting to do this for 2.5 years, along with this guy. We both got hired going into the 2023 football season. Great.
This will be our 3rd year coming up.
It'll be our 3rd year together. Do you think we'll make it?
Is it our 3rd year or 4th year? I'm blacked out. Can't remember.
Going into your 3rd.
Going
into our 3rd year, buddy.
Going into our 3rd. That's what I said.
So
that's what I thought.
It's going to be a cliffhanger whether we make it through this season, me and you. But I'm going to bet on us. I believe in us. And
I think we've been doing great lately.
Oh, I mean,
we didn't fight one time in New Orleans. We didn't fight one time in Indy. I think we had a New Year's.
We almost had a fight in Indy.
You
almost wanted to kill me.
That's not true. And we had a New Year's resolution that we were going to be nicer to each other. Yeah. And I think we've done a great job with that. Now, have I been nice to anyone else? No. But I've really been working on it.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your friendship, Greg, and it means a lot to me. So thank you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's
very
love.
Nice of you to say.
You really, can you get a little, some lotion and holy bricklayer hands. Do it for Jenny. Get a. Oh my God.
Oh
my God. Birthday cupcakes.
Let's go.
Ooh, Greggy, it's soft.
Oh,
there you go, buddy.
Get it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, me and Greg are both
Cheers.
We're not saving our calories here lately, so we might as well just get right in there.
We're on the Debo diet. Because we're fat.
Shout out Debo. You're a great commander. Wouldn't have made any sense for the Bears whatsoever. That's a great way to end up the show. All right. Jonah Jackson in. CHGO 3rd birthday. Ton of contact being pumped up by our socials. We got a long way to go the rest of the day in our celebration.
And we have super chats. We have super chats.
Okay. Oh, and we have supers. Hold on. All right, let me do the supers before I eat this cupcake. Who's up first here, Steven?
Dan Evans. Here, how about you guys stuff your faces and I'll start reading.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dan Evans sends us $20. He says, thanks for 3 years, fun and informative.
Appreciate you, Dan.
We got not a super chat, but Matthew Traeger here says, happy birthday, CHGO. Became a diehard today.
You're the man, Matthew. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Anthony Tranchita sends $5, says, now that the Bengals franchise T. Higgins, what are your thoughts on trying to sign Trey Hendrickson?
Actually, Anthony, just hang on a second. Let's go back to Matthew and the things we love about Matthew becoming a diehard today.
What are the things that we love about Matthew?
Well, what we love about Matthew, and let me get the name on there, Stephen, if I may, because Matthew deserves this love.
Matthew Traeger.
Matthew Traeger. Not only does Matthew Traeger wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say to himself, I'm going to be the best Traeger I can be today. He looks at everybody in the Traeger family. He says to himself, how can they be the best Traegers they can be? And then he gets to work, and he looks in the eyes of his coworkers, and he says to them, hey, you're not a Traeger, but you're going to play like a Traeger today. And he just spreads his Traegerness all over his work environment, his home environment.
What?
Don't worry about it. Steven just got this mind that I don't. He spreads his Traegerness. That's what he does. Matthew Traeger, you're an amazing person and an amazing diehard, and we appreciate you. All right. Thank you, Matthew.
All right, Anthony Tranchita here wanted to know our thoughts on trying to sign Trey Hendrickson with his $5 super chat.
I mean, I think the Bengals are signing him, but you told me we could have some Trey Hendrickson here. A lot of money on that defensive line, but, man, I like people who get to the quarterback. The Bears could figure that one out.
Yeah, 17.5 sacks last season. Chubb's 82, $5. There's a reason the guy gets passed around. We should pass on Chase Young.
Yeah, but you be getting the Dennis Allen stamp of approval, Chubbs. That doesn't do anything for you? Apparently not.
Does. No, it does. He'll have the Bears going 17-0.
$2 more here from Chubbs. I'm not getting excited for a guy in the downswing.
You will do what you're told, Chubbs, and you will be excited today.
What's Chubbs' avatar? What is that?
It's a dog.
It's his puppy, probably, right?
I just can't see
I don't
it
know
well.
if it's his, but it's a dog.
Yeah, he's got a new dog.
All right, there it is.
Pup.
Chubbs, you're the man.
Yeah, well, you better toughen up over there. Enough crying out of you, Chubbs.
$2 more from Chubbs. On what planet do the Bears deserve patience?
This planet. It's the planet of, it's called patience to eventually win the Super Bowl.
I'm not saying they deserve patience. Bears fans deserve a winning product, but this is where we get ourselves in trouble because Ben Johnson hasn't done anything to not deserve your patience. Caleb Williams last year hasn't done anything to Bears fans to not deserve Bears fans' patience. But then they fall in line with an organization that doesn't deserve our patience, and those two roads don't necessarily intertwine. So it's counterproductive for us to just constantly be heaping expectation on things that aren't always the reality that Carm tries to give us. And so I'm trying to be, self-aware in that regard.
Wow.
And try to understand that I'm a part of the problem.
You are.
And that we need to be fair to the expectations while also holding the organization accountable. That being said, by week 1, we're all going to lose our minds, and we want the team to win as many games as possible next year.
The point of patience is you want the organization, not that this really matters because they need to operate without paying attention to the fan base, but they do pay attention to the fan base. And if you want to be in the patience zone, build it the right way. Don't Band-Aid it. That to me is what patience is about as a fan. Like, hey, let's actually construct an organization, a team that is built for success versus trying to find a miracle, which never seems to work. All right, $5 from Brendan Horton. Stoked to share a B-Day with you all. Treated myself to a diehard membership.
Hell
Here's
yeah.
to many more birthdays. Let's go CHGO Bear Down.
Happy birthday, Brandon.
Brendan the B-Man. He doesn't settle.
I said Brandon.
Brendan
Horton.
Brendan
Horton. Here's a who.
BH. It's
Children's
as close to BJ and Ben Johnson as you can get with the BH. He's right there. Brendan's on board. We're on board with Brendan. We love how Brendan does his business. Thank you, Brendan.
Between spreading your Traeger and close to a BJ, I just think these diehard reads are getting a little out of hand.
Yeah, no, I got to calm down. Gabe Gardner, $5. I think no matter what the Bears do in the offseason, I will be optimistic.
Till I see results.
I guess you can say I always have resting Hogue face. Congratulations, Gabe. Resting Hogue face is an acquired talent / skill. To be that annoyed at all moments is
I can just
not many people can do it.
Picture is kind of on small on the screen, but I can just
he does
picture the resting Hogue face.
He does
He's got a little Patrick Norton in him.
He's got a little Patrick Norton.
Resting Hogue avatar.
Looking dapper.
Maybe, yeah. Listen, being attached to Hogue in any way, shape, or form is a win for you, so thank you, Gabe. Excuse me. Why don't you read this one, Gregory?
What's up? Charles King became a diehard last week. Chuck!
That's why you're the king, Charles.
Chuck King.
You are a king. You are a diehard king.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like you to be my king for the rest of the day. King for a day, Charles King. Shout out Stacey King. King for a day, Game 6, 1992.
Jimmy
Portland.
King.
Jimmy King, Fab 5. Great one. Aiden Wright, new diehard here, picked up the Meatball Island shirt. Love you guys.
Let's go. Meatball.
Oh, this sounds great for the audio listeners.
Island. Cupcake Island.
Aiden Wright doing the right things, going right down diehard lane, all the way to the top.
Aiden Wright. Don't tell me how to spell Aiden Wright. Get it? Because it's the way he spells Aiden.
Aiden, Aedan. He blazes his own trail, Braggs. He doesn't go down the same primrose
People
path.
like Aiden, that's spelled wrong, and he's like, no, that's Aiden Wright. Get it? That's his last name.
He didn't come right out of college and go to right out of high school and go to Syracuse and do the try to be Bob Costas and Nick Wright and Danny Parkins. He blazed his own trail. He went the bricklaying route, a la you, and blazed his own trail and still got there. That's why Aiden Wright is our guy. Shout out Aiden. $2 to Alex Ammerling. Alex, Ben trusts him, so we should trust his instinct. There you go, Alex. You and Braggs speak the same language. And to wrap up the show, gonna get emotional. Also, can't speak.
Uh-oh.
Why don't you read Crystal?
Crystal Simone, diehard Northwestern Wildcats fan, took another loss.
We missed her last night.
Yep. Well, maybe that's her fault. $20 super chat. Happy birthday, CHGO. 3 years ago, you became my main media source for the Chicago Bears when I was in Alabama. Now, 3 years later, I'm still here and loving all the coverage. Love you all. Keep up the great work and bear down.
Is there anyone more supportive over the last 3 years than Crystal?
She is an amazing person with a bad taste in college basketball.
The Duke comes and goes, or actually just left, but Crystal has been here the whole time. We love you, Crystal. You know this. And lastly, Arctic, $5. Carm, don't let anyone get to you. You provide a great deal of entertainment and contrary opinions that are needed for a good show. Keep it coming. Arctic, dad, cousin, my man. Thank you, Arctic. I appreciate it. I will not change. I cannot change. I will always be me. Thank you so much, brother.
Oh, here we go with Chevy Wellington.
And $20 from Chevy.
Seuss.
It's never going to end. We'll stay here all day. $20. Greg,
Yeah,
you ended one of your last shows by calling me stupid several times.
you are stupid.
So here's a question. If you have 12 lame varsity jackets but can only fit into 2 out of the 12 jackets, what percent of the jackets can you grease yourself into?
You are a real
Chevy, you're the best. This is answer the question. You have 12 lame varsity jackets, but only fit into 2 out of the 12. What percentage can you grease yourself into? 2 out of 12. Can you do the percentage? 1 out of 6. That's the. Can you reduce?
Third. Help me out, Steven.
I have the answer, but you're about to say 30 something.
Don't give him help. What's 1 divided by 6?
Don't use your phone. I see you over there.
I want to make sure
I have it right. I don't have a phone.
I
16.7%.
No. 16.7 is redundant.
You say the
16.7%.
cupcake.
What were you going to say? 30? 1 out of 5 is 20. You can do that. And then 1 out of 6 is less. 1 out of 10 would be 10. So you can do this, Greg. You're very smart.
Thank you.
You're very, very smart.
Thank you.
You inspire me. All right, we got to go. Cubs is coming up at 1:30.
Screw you, Chevy.
We love you, Chevy. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching today. Hit that like button on
Become
the way out.
a diehard for $34, Chevy.
$34 diehard today. QR code on the screen.
What's 34 divided by what's in your wallet?
That's really funny. That was a great zinger. I think you got him on that one. Chevy, he got you. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Hit the bell so you know when we're doing shows.
Happy birthday, Chicago. Happy birthday to CHGO.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like